Hello and welcome to the All Around RN channel, where I'm passionate about helping victims of all ages, excuse me, all ages and all genders overcome the fear of facing the abuse to become survivors. Since the beginning of time, victims have always been forced to stay silent, to keep the secret of the abusers, and this continues the cycle of abuse because people support the abuser and they shame the victims. But this is year of 2024 when enough is enough. Enough is enough. And y'all saw the title up here. This here is something that's recent happening here, right here in Montgomery, Alabama. A highly decorated so-called bishop was arrested, indicted actually, on charges first-degree sodomy. And this isn't like a news, sweeping something. This here has been going on since beginning. We just recently heard about T.D. Jakes. A few years ago, it was Bishop Eddie Long. This kind of stuff's been going on. And each time this happens, the church does not support the victim. The church supports the abuser. And I have had enough. I've had enough. I've had enough. And like I said over here, this channel is dedicated to victims. It's very scary. It's very hard to speak out when everybody is supporting your abuser. This type of abuse is mental, it's emotional, it's all kind of stuff. And then for it to be administered with somebody with power and authority and is supposed to be God's messenger is very confusing for the victim. And then for the victim to be persecuted by the rest of the church, it's disgusting. It's disgusting and despicable. And I want to talk about it. And that's what I'm here today talking about. Hey, y'all, thank y'all so much for stopping by. If this is your first time here, I want to welcome you. This channel, like I said, has been dedicated to, first it was dedicated to me, my natural hair journey. But then I started to realize that I had a voice and I wanted to lift it up. And lately, I haven't really been saying much because, again, with all of the wickedness out there, a lot of times it's easier to just be silent. But I have to be honest and say that I've said before in prior videos that we don't do moments of silence over here. We do moments of speaking, where we speak out the names of victims. And there are a lot of victims out there, a lot of victims out there, a lot of victims out there. And by this being in the church people, these are some of the most wicked people out there. They're not doing the work of God. They are really putting a negative energy out there, and it's going to be time up. Going to be timed up because this particular situation is not new. It was made known to this particular church years ago. And they allowed this vicious monster to continue to be in the pulpit, to be in charge. I'm going to read a little bit later some of the accolades and the experience and how long this has been going on at this church. And y'all know, y'all have seen it before, other different churches and stuff. Just like I said, a few talking about somebody who may be a little bit popular, T.D. Jakes, right? And then here he was right back on up in the pulpit shortly after that. And then now it's like hush, hush. And what I'm saying is that I'm really tired of the victims being the ones, people say, oh, they don't even say anything about them. They're out there praying for praying for protection and to open the eyes, and they're failing. They're openly admitting that they don't believe it. With all of the information out there in their face, that they are choosing to believe the abuser and to banish and treat poorly the victim. And I want to ask those of you Christians, what do you think Jesus would think about this? That a poor innocent child was victimized and cried out, and y'all did nothing. You did nothing. Nothing. Not one prayer went up for those kids. Not one prayer for those victims. And a lot of them, especially the male victims, turned out to live an alternative life. I don't even want to say alternative. Turned out to be gay, right? And we all know that you ain't born that way. But the church people refuse to take responsibility for the fact that their so-called leaders, and it's not just in the Black churches, it's in churches. We got priests doing it to the Catholic kids. I mean, this is nothing new. Like, y'all, I'm going to show y'all, like, I'm just going to type it in. It's going to be a whole slew, a whole list of wicked pastors out there doing this repetitive behavior. And no one's doing anything about it. Everything's hush, hush. And that's why I really believe that we can't do moments of silence. And I know it's difficult to talk about abuse, especially sexual abuse. And I'm 53 years old, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm a proud Gen Xer. And that's another reason why we got to speak up, because my generation, we were from the, don't let nothing, my business, what go on in my house, get outside here. So you were forced to keep secrets. You were forced to keep secrets and to protect these abusers. A lot of these pastors are abusive to their wives. They're abusive to their children. They're abusive to the people, the members. And they are allowed to continue to do this. And when a child speaks out, the child is rebuked. The child is prayed for. The child is rebuked in the spirit of this ungodly gay spirit is prayed for him. So the child is, the victim is embarrassed in front of the church. And the person that is doing the praying and trying to, exorcise the demon spirit out of them are the ones that's been doing this horrible stuff. So what I want to say is that I want to give a voice to victims, starting with myself. Like I said, I'm 53 years old, and I, was a victim as a child, as a young person of sexual abuse. I was victimized by a family member that made it even more taboo and more having to keep a secret. And to this date, I have yet to publicly talk about it, because me being the victim, I'm supposed to be able to feel free to tell my story, to tell my testimony. It happened. But because it was a family member, then it's discouraged, because you don't want to bring shame to the family. But what about the shame that the victim is carrying? What about that? So I'm going to take a little liquid courage here, because this is a first for me too. And like I said, it's been just, I didn't want to talk about it. But I just believe that the time is coming now, because a lot of people have been brainwashed with this whole Christianity stuff too, and have been openly supporting wickedness. This is not a war between men and women, blacks or whites. This is a war against good and evil. There is good people in every gender, every race, every nationality. There's bad people in every race, every gender, every nationality. So you can't put your guard down because, oh, those are women. There's some wicked women out there. You can't put your guard down and say, oh, those are men of God. There's wicked men of God. There's wicked men out there proclaiming to be on the side of God, and obviously they're not. Obviously they're not. So tonight we're going to talk about this kind of stuff, and hopefully, throughout this, I'll have a little, more confidence to really, tell my story too, because I know once I get the confidence to go ahead and speak about it, call names and all this stuff too, and not be worried about what the family's going to think, because why should I worry about that? And I'm telling myself that, like, why should I worry about that? But a lot of us, especially as Gen Xers, was raised like that too. Back then there was this whole big thing on child abuse. Really, if you wanted to smack your kid around or beat them with an extension cord or a telephone cord or whatever like that, that was, you did. You just did. And we just called them whoopings, but it was abuse, right? Because it was administered in anger. Most of these parents were extremely angry. Oh, okay, thank you. I see somebody over there answered the question when I said, like I said, if these Christians got together and Jesus was here, what do you think Jesus would say about the fact that you turned your back on the children that cried out? What would Jesus think about the fact that you chose to side with the wicked person who abused them as opposed to stand up for them? Yeah, I see you, JP. Jesus would be mad. It does it not represent any of that stuff. So, like I said, when I saw that, I needed to talk about it. I need to talk about it. Like I said, one of the things that I saw in the other situations too with these pastors who were convicted or arrested of doing this kind of stuff is that the church supports them. Most of the time they'll allow them to stay in the pulpit, deliver, being responsible for people's so-called souls and stuff, and they keep it hush hush. So I'm curious to see how these people are going to handle this, because like I said, this was already made known years ago when these accusations first come up. Yet they allowed him to continue in this position and people still followed them. They followed them. They condemned these children. They called them degrading names and stuff. It's been just awful. Been just awful up until the day that they, arrested this guy. And I'll read it off and I'll let y'all see. So I'm not just talking here. This is public information. Shame on those people that did that. Shame on them. Shame on them. So we're going to get started with our first video here. And it's going to be on this initial so-called preacher here. So let me share the screen with y'all. Thank y'all so much for coming in here too. Yeah, maybe after one of these here, I'm pretty positive. So, and then don't trip out, y'all, if I get emotional. Not that I'm like still caught up in this, but I really feel like it kind of closes off your healing when you still keeping it a secret. Like, you know what I mean? Like I've admitted that I was molested as a baby. Actually, it started as a baby, and to see some sick people out there, and I've said that, but I haven't really told the story, like named the names and stuff. Like I said, it was a family member, and it was a big challenge too when I finally did say something that nothing happened. Again, they support the abuser, and then the poor victim is left to be humiliated, name called, and all kind of awful things and stuff. So, yeah. So no more moments of silence here. Let's see here. Is it? I did this in a minute. Share. Okay. All right. So this here is Montgomery pastor arrested, charged with sex crimes, and this was updated on May 22nd. Um, right. So this happened, I believe, on Monday. So let's go ahead and see what the people is saying.
Right now, a Montgomery pastor is behind bars as he faces sex crime charges. 61-year-old Gregory Cannon is charged with sodomy and sex abuse. Cannon has been pastor of Bryce Temple AOH Church since 2003.
All right, so Rice Temple AOH Church. AOH Church, one of those holy rolling churches where they shout and they in the spirit and all that kind of stuff, right? They real spiritual holy rollers, right? Yet this man and these people supposed to have emotional and connections with God, but yet this man was able to stand amongst them and nobody could discern this spirit. Nobody could discern the spirit. That's why I want to say that a lot of the people that's in church is just as wicked.
He is also the first assistant presiding bishop over the Apostolic Overcoming Holy Church of God. Court documents allege the crimes were committed, quote, by forcible compulsion.
Wow.
He is being held without bail, and Anaya's law hearing is scheduled for next week.
Okay, so
it's one of the most stressful and expensive things.
That was it. I'm going to show y'all what this Anaya's law is. So I'll look it up. Anyway, so he's held without bail, right? Held without bail and indicted. And then to know that there's still some church members that saying, I'm waiting to find the truth. What more, do you need? Like, it wasn't enough that the kids openly said, hey, this, been pointing out this kind of behavior. And like I said, the whole legal part of this was presented a couple of years ago. So this isn't new. That's why, they had the indictment and was able to hold him without bail because of this. Like, this is nothing new. So that means that this was already presented to the people, yet they chose to stay on the side of somebody like this, right? This is, come on. And these are the people that we're supposed to, that will judge us and, judge me for my cocktail. This here's a screwdriver. So, yeah, I'll be talking soon. And I'm going to be dropping names. Dropping names. Yes, I am. Soon with this here. So, but okay, so that was our little first video. That's what the whole thing really got stemmed from. Like I said, this kind of hits home because, excuse me. All right, so I know what that's about. With this whole thing come up here. Let me see what y'all saying up here. Let me see your comments. All right, so y'all agreeing. Remember, put another video on it because I feel like this whole cough thing is getting ready to happen again to try to keep me quiet. So let me share this video real quick. And I appreciate y'all patience too. All right, here goes. These are just some real quick ones. Just to show you that this ain't no one in a million thing. This ain't no, nothing to be surprised about because this kind of stuff has been happening since forever and nothing happens. So we're going to follow, excuse me, y'all. We're going to follow along with this because this is going to be the Sunday coming up. Like this church, they have a Facebook where they post their church services and everything. I'm curious to see what they're going to talk about. What I have noticed in the past is that, like I said, the so-called saints will be praying, to strengthen the abuser and stuff. And then praying this spirit, this gay spirit out of these victims who were turned this way by these predators. All right, so this here is another story. Pastor arrested on rape charges. This was 2 years ago. All right, so Here we go. Watch. It's when I click over here, I'm going to show y'all. It's a whole list of them. This is what they do. This is what they've been doing.
A Clarksville pastor arrested in Michigan, now behind bars. Allie Lynch is at the WKRN.com alert desk with the latest information.
That's right, Alex. 43-year-old Larry Rayford Jr. was booked into the Montgomery County Jail today on 4 counts of rape and 4 counts of statutory rape. Now, according to our partners at Clarksville Now, one victim was 15 and the other was 13 at the time of the incident in August of 2020.
Monster.
Officers in Michigan worked with the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office to track Rayford down. And on December 22nd, he was arrested in Holland, Michigan. Now, according to the ministry's website in Clarksville, Rayford is listed as the senior pastor.
Wow. See there? Look, see the pattern? It's like they're abusing their power. This guy was the senior pastor. So I'm sure there were people in the church that didn't approve of this, and they probably left. This is like a pattern. You'll have the people that'll be like, oh, this ain't right. Then they'll just leave the church, right? Because they feel helpless because it's like, well, who else can you report this to? Like, this is crazy. Like, this guy is allowed to be able to abuse people and get away with it. Right there. I don't see anywhere in the Bible where it says that you're supposed to do these things, right? And then for them to abuse their authority and hurt children. That's the lowest thing you could do, is to hurt a child that's naive, that don't know enough. They ain't been here long enough. They ain't been here long enough to know.
And get breaking news alerts 24/7. Download the WKRN News app free right from the App Store.
I want to show y'all that. And I'm going to get on this little seat over here and just. All right, so here's the next thing I want to show y'all. This just y'all can see how, it's not just here in Montgomery and not just black people too. Look here. This here is in Alabama. 4 years ago, Monrovia pastor arrested on sodomy charges. Right? And they be the main ones up here. Like, I bet not go through, because I'm going to, this is going to kind of be some kind of therapy too for me too. So I'm going to talk about this. I'm going to go through some of those sermons and stuff, and they're supposed to be on fire, right? Preaching hard against this kind of sodomy and gayness and all this stuff, when y'all the main ones up in here doing this to these male children and stuff. This is awful, despicable. And you got the nerve to call yourself a conductor of God, somebody who is supposed to be talking with God to help God's people. I hope you reap everything you have sown. I hope God has heard every cry from every child and every individual that you have hurt. And that goes for all of you low down, dirty preacher, pastors, bishops, deacons, whomever you are, fathers, uncles, all of you. And all of the mothers and the sisters and the aunties and all those other people that stood by and allowed you to continue to molest children again and again, year after year, decade after decade. I hope God punishes you to the fullest extent. All right, I'm hoping. Let me share. All right, so look at here. Look at the long list. All I did was type up in here. I said Montgomery AOH pastor arrested for sodomy. And then boom, his face don't even show up. But look at how many others show up. Look here. Disgusting. Oh, okay. Look, see, it ain't gender, it ain't race specific. Here go a white dude. Let's see what he did.
New at 5:30, a man who was a pastor for many years here in Houston has been arrested and
in
charged
Houston.
with sex with a child for years, and that child, detectives say, it was a family member.
Wow.
Stephen Bratton is.
This was a family member. See, they don't take any type of. It doesn't matter. It could be their child, someone else's child. People that are perverted like this are people that are perverted.
He's charged with continuous sexual abuse of a child. He's currently out on bond, and we know he had recently stepped down from his role as pastor at Grace.
At least he stepped down. Had the dignity to step down. This dude did not have the dignity to step down. These charges were brought out years ago, and yet he continued to sit his fat behind up in the pulpit, sitting up there praying and sprinkling so-called holy water on people and stuff, and rebuking this spirit in other people. This is awful. Awful. Please, God, hear the cries of these victims. Hear the cries.
Emil Westfield, the alleged victim, told detectives Bratton started abusing her 6 years ago when she was 13 years old.
Wow.
She said the abuse continued up until last year, to the point where they were allegedly having sex several times a day.
Several times a day. What the hell?
The church tells us Bratton told fellow pastors what happened, and those pastors immediately filed a report with the sheriff's office. Bratton was excommunicated by the church last month, meaning he is no longer a member.
All right, so in this case, the higher-ups sat him down once the allegations came out. The sad part in this case is that this guy, I'm not sure, I'll check the history and see, looks like he got promoted. So how does that make the victim feel? Am I really going to be able to speak out against this guy? He's in charge of everything. Everybody looking at me like I'm going to hell because I did this thing. Nobody's looking at me as the victim. I was a kid. This guy was supposed to be in charge of the flock, the sheep, taking care of God's people. Hey, thank you so much, Miss Beverly. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And like I said, this here, no more moments of silence. Like I said, I've been silent for many years. I've mentioned the fact that I was molested, but I never spoke about it because it was a family member. And not just any family member, it was my mother's brother. So it was an uncle, mother's brother. And for years, I didn't say anything. I said it started right just before I was 2. And a lot of people don't understand when I tell them about memories of being a baby. I remember it. They say that tragedy etches your memory. And I remember being an early walker, late talker. I started walking at 8 months. I remember because I had an umbilical hernia, so my navel stuck out like a little Vienna sausage. And I remember things around me, but I wasn't able to talk. And I remember that I had that little navel, and I was walking at 8 months because I had a surgery at 9 months to have it removed. And I remember all of those things. So by me having that tragedy of the surgery on my navel, I remember my sister, my big sister, used to push it in and watch it poke out. And that used to just make me so mad. And I remember standing on the porch in a diaper, 8 months old. Back then they had the cloth diapers with these safety pins in it. And I remember I wanted her to stop, but I didn't know how to say, hey, she's pushing in my navel, all this stuff. So I remember just kind of growling with a kind of a mean cry. And my mom came out there and picked me up and popped her and said, leave that baby navel alone. And that was me, my earliest memory at 8 months, you know. And I remember going out here to Alabama around 18 to 20 months or so. And I sat in an ant bed and had an anaphylactic reaction because I was probably about like maybe 18 to 22 months or so, because we had a baby brother who had passed away. So we ended up traveling back here to Alabama, where my mom is from, for her to be with her mother. And hence was my first introduction to my perverted Uncle Perry, who likes petting on babies and kids and having sex with babies and kids. Uncle Perry, my mother's brother. Yes. Like I said, over here, we don't do moments of silence. We do moments of speaking. Because this is how you're able to transition from a victim to a survivor. Because there's power. If you're still here, you can't help the fact that you was a victim. I was a baby. I had nothing to do with that. There was nothing that I can do to stop him from fondling me as a baby. But I remember it because I had sat in this ant bed and ended up getting all this big, covered in this big rash, and there was cream that needed to be put on. Anyway, that was the excuse for why he was going to touch on a baby. So it's some sick people out there, But this would, we, like I said, we grew up in Los Angeles. So each time we would come back here to visit, things got even more and more hectic until, me at 9 having, there was abuse to the furthest degree where, took innocence and all of that stuff at 9. And it took a few years before I finally spoke out about it because I was afraid. I was afraid because especially in our Black community, these kind of things, people try to talk bad about the victim. You fast cow, all these negative things. A lot of young ladies are physically abused. If something happens, it's like, how can you be upset with a 12-year-old who got pregnant? How is a 12-year-old fast? You know what I mean? But this is how the adults do it. And as opposed to going after the abuser, because that's abuse, they scold and ridicule the victim. And you're made to feel the shame and all of this awful stuff that the abuser needs to feel. That's their shame. You're a child. You have nothing to do with that. Kids aren't even thinking about these kind of things. These are the adults that's putting all this sexual, hypersexual stuff out there. So anyway, when I finally did speak up, nothing happened. So that was hard for me because here I am, expecting, as a child that a mother is going to, do something about it. And then you keep quiet because we don't want the family business to get out there. So I'm saying that we Gen Xers, we need to step up because we can't continue to support these horrible people that are doing this kind of behavior and making the victims feel like they need to carry the burden of keeping it the secret because you don't want to embarrass the family. Okay, so anyway, that's a little something there. I thank y'all so much for listening. But I'm going to keep on sharing some more videos here I did that one already. But to give a voice to victims. And here's another video we're going to kind of, hold up. I'm going to go over. All right, I'm going to see what y'all seeing over here. It's like a little worried. But I love y'all. And I know that everybody is coming from a place of love too. Let's see here. Hey, PM Channel, what's going on? PM Channel says, God does not approve of the conditions of false prophets. Speak of God, but prove false to its power. They exchange the truth of God for lies. Their time is coming. Yes, I agree with you. Yes, thank you. That's a good point there. Thank you. What's up here? See, JP. What's up, JP says, a den of vipers. Yes. Yeah, it's awful. Hey, what's up, Nerda? Yes. Thank you. And like I said, I want to offer, a voice for victims and stuff. That's who we need to be supporting and stuff. We need to be supporting the victims. We need to be praying for the victims. oftentimes, let me just go ahead and play this one. It's another little quick video here, but they do the thing where they, praying and asking God to, like, I don't know, but never asking God to protect the victims or any of those things. None of those things. They're crying and worried about the church, what the church looked like. But not the victims. All right, so this one here is East St. Louis pastor arrested during his sermon. All right, and the reason why I kind of just snipper in here is because this Bishop Cannon was arrested on Monday, but he was just in the pulpit the day before on that Sunday. So,
The arrest of a Metro East pastor. It happened Sunday at Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church while the pastor was preaching.
Wow.
In a story you'll only see here, our Robert Townsend says this all stems from some members wanting to oust their leader.
Wow.
Sunday I came in, started the morning worship service.
Pastor Curtis Livingston says just minutes into his sermon at Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church on Sunday, he got the shock of his life.
And he was trying to give me some illegal papers stating a termination.
St. Clair County Sheriff's deputies walked inside his church, approached the pulpit, handcuffed the East St. Louis pastor, and then arrested him while he was preaching.
Wow.
The handcuffed Livingston kept on preaching as deputies escorted him to jail.
That's what
on
we
charges
need.
of trespassing and disorderly conduct.
Wow.
Investigators say a St. Clair County police sergeant asked Pastor Livingston numerous times if he could speak with him away from his congregation. But police say Livingston refused and did not leave his church.
He probably didn't think they had the guts to come get him off the pulpit. It's like, fooled you.
That's when the deputies arrested him on the charges.
Mm.
Livingston's wife shared this cell phone video.
I still feel very low. I feel that he disrespected not only myself, but the pulpit.
Yep.
And it just makes me feel terminally ill.
Yeah.
Livingston has been the pastor at Mount Zion for 7.5 years. He says he currently has 200 members. According to the St. Clair County Sheriff's Office on Saturday, Livingston was told that a majority of his congregation voted to terminate him. Livingston's lawyer says members of the church say he failed to grow the church and bring in prominent members.
Never not done anything, any wrongdoing besides speaking with them.
Wow. Now see how they're trying to say that they asked him to step down because he didn't grow the church. Not acknowledging the fact that he's got some sex issues up here. You see what I'm saying? They like overlook these things, or let's talk about this so we keep this hush hush. That's wrong. And you call yourself a Christian?
Having conversations with them, removing them, which I have the authority to do.
The embattled pastor also insists the church.
Well, why didn't you remove him? Why did it take the police having to come in there and get him off the pulpit? He shouldn't have been allowed to come up here. You are supposed to pledge your allegiance to God, not man.
Members vote to kick him out is illegal. Why was that illegal?
Because there's certain bylaws in our Constitution bylaws.
That's how you know that God is not in the church. This is evil. Evil.
You have to go through to terminate the pastor.
For now, he's still the pastor. A judge will have her say in a couple of weeks. Robert Townsend, 5 Your Side.
Pastor Livingston and his lawyer will soon go to court to address the church's termination vote. Next month, they're back in court.
Now, I mean, what kind of gall, what kind of, audacity do you have to be caught in the wrong, but still refuse to do the right thing? Like, what would God say about that? What would Jesus say about that? What would Jesus say about that? Hey, Sonia Williams says, you got to look Bishop Alfonso Joseph's case. Very overweight, caught in the back seat with a minor. Woo, shaking my head. Okay. Like I was telling y'all, this ain't nothing new. Like this, he ain't the first person, nor will he be the last. That's why I'm saying we need to start speaking up now and offering a voice to these victims who have been silenced and cast out and been condemned in front of everybody. When the Bible clearly states, he who is without sin cast the first stone. Yet these holy rollers, self-righteous people up there casting stones on these victims. Shame on me. Shame. Thank you, Ladam. Darling says, can you imagine being touched by something that looks like that? And did I showed the picture, huh? I did. Okay. So let's see here. I'm gonna look up this person here just to show that, yeah, this kind of stuff is actually accurate as far as people doing this kind of stuff. Like I showed y'all that big list, and this was like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years ago. This kind of stuff has been happening. And then, like I said, there's been more popular pastors that this happened with. This Bishop Eddie Long. Let me just show a quick something up on, let's see here. What she told me to look up. Bishop Al. Joseph. Good heavens, like what is this? Here we go. The way back Pentecostal. Here we go with the Pentecostal church. So Joseph, 48 pastors. Okay. I'm trying to find his story that you was telling me about. Oh, here we go. All right. Florida pastor oh, look at here. Good heavens. Unfortunately, he's black. This really makes us look bad too as people. Because black people know they be totally involved and devoted to the church, and it don't matter how wicked this person is. If he got the title of pastor or something like that, they just follow and do whatever he says. All right, Florida church pastor Alfonso Joseph charged with teen defilement on golf course. Ugh. Disgusting. Ugh. Alfonso Joseph, 48, is a resident of Palm Coast, Florida, and is associate with churches and spiritual organization. He was arrested on Friday and charged with defiling a 15-year-old boy. Whoa! In a vehicle. Wow. On the Montanza Woods golf course. Joseph may have unknowingly attracted the sheriff's deputies to the scene of the crime by playing loud music in the... Oh, so he was caught in the act? Holy smoke. Joseph may have unknowingly attracted the sheriff departments to the scene of the crime by playing loud music in the car, which made someone report a noise complaint on the night of July 14th. And he's probably playing the loud music to drown out the cries of the boy he was raping. Whew. A sheriff's deputy found a gray Toyota Camry packed near the course. I guess that could be parked. Parked near the course upon arrival. When he shined light towards the vehicle, who wrote this? When he shined light towards the vehicle, he saw two males, Joseph and a 15-year-old boy, pulling up their pants. According to Joseph's arrest report, he had met the boy on a dating app. Wow. On the same day, sent him his address, picked him up, and taken him to an area where he performed oral sex on him. In a different report, talking to a different sheriff, Joseph said that the two, he and the boy, were just chilling. On being shirtless, and he said that it was due to the hot weather that he removed his shirt. However, he also talked about meeting the boy on a popular gay dating app, Grindr. Oh, so Grindr is a gay app? I didn't know that. But the app required members to be 18. In this report, Joseph said that the boy lied about being 18, and he admitted to having sex with him, a crime that would amount to unlawful sexual activity, a second-degree felony. Wow. Ooh, okay, here, let's see what this say.
Predator pastor, okay, was literally caught with a minor with his pants down. Wow. Put up his church picture. Gonna put his whole full mask.
Wow.
Put his whole church on blast here. Florida pastor associated with multiple churches was arrested last Thursday and charged with the molestation of a 15-year-old.
Wow.
His name, we're gonna keep his picture up, is Alfonso Joseph, 48 years of age, was found with a 15-year-old in a vehicle.
Dang.
On a golf course. Okay, let's put up his mugshot full mask. It's a damn shame. Joseph actually brought attention to himself inadvertently.
What's up with this eye? Because didn't that bishop have a crooked eye like that too? The left.
The 911 center had received a noise complaint of loud music in the direction of the golf course. That's what alerted the sheriff's office. He wasn't under any investigation for doing these insane and evil deeds. They simply had a noise complaint because of music. Here's the background. The sheriff's deputy arriving at the scene found a gray Toyota Camry somewhere near or on the golf course. When the deputy shined a light on the vehicle, it shook. Okay? And the deputy then saw two males pulling up their pants. One of them was a 15-year-old child.
Wow.
The other was the reverend.
Wow.
The child told the deputies that he had met the reverend on a dating app that same day, and that he provided the reverend with his address, and that Joseph, the reverend, then picked him up and took him to the area of the golf course where the reverend performed oral sex on him, according to Joseph's arrest report.
Wow. He didn't even have the decency to take him to a room in a public place. Disgusting.
Now let's put his picture up again.
Yeah.
Now let me be very clear. Obviously, there's no issue with the sexuality. There's an issue with his molestation. The
issue with the sexuality is that you are professing to be a man of God. And God says that it is an abomination for man to lie with man, an abomination for woman to lie with woman, meaning that we're not supposed to be banging the same sex. That's an abomination. How can you judge me for my cocktail when you're out there getting cocktail? I'm sorry. I got to throw a little humor in there to just kind of.
Is a predator.
It's a heavy subject, y'all. Heavy subject.
Another deputy spoke with Joseph separately, the reverend. He said he and the child were just chilling, was the quote. He was shirtless. but he said he had taken his shirt off only because it was hot.
It was hot.
But he too conceded that he met the minor on Grindr. But that requires users to be at least 18, a requirement easily circumvented, obviously. So the preacher said the boy told him he was 18, according to his arrest report. He admitted to engaging in sex with the child. That would amount to unlawful sexual activity, a second-degree felony. An announcement for service. Let's put the picture back up. An announcement for service when he ran a church called Vision Cathedral 3 years ago. However, no such entity was registered with the State Division of Corporations. Besides that church and 2 other religious organizations, he has for the last 2 years been a pastor with Destined for Greatness Ministries. And according to a Bishop Chadrick Joseph, right now Alfonso, is on a sabbatical, right? So Joseph of 75 Blair Drive in Palm Coast was booked on the Flagler County Jail, at the Flagler County Jail on July 14th on a charge of lewd or lascivious battery and on a $15,000 bond. These bonds are always really low compared to the crime, in my opinion. He was released the same day because he could make the bond. He has been ordered to have no contact with any minors. Okay. All right, here we go. Here we go again. Another preacher, like Jesse Lee Peterson, utilizing their power.
Jesse Lee Peterson, what? He's been accused of this? I just recently come in to know about this Jesse Lee Peterson guy. What is he about to say about him? Oh, heavens. Like I said, there's going to be more parts to this here. I got some questions over here. Thank y'all so much too for these questions. What did I see? Somebody? Oh, here we go. LaDame Darling says, you have a beautiful grade of hair and it grows fast too. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. It does. I did spend a little time with a little heat on it to kind of stretch it out though. But yeah, hair and nails grow fast for me. That's why I don't mind to do a big chop. If things go to the wrong way, I didn't even and start over again. And then, but it's been a year. In November, it'll be 2 years. So, grows fast, but it's, about what average stuff do. But I thank you so much. Appreciate the compliment. And I didn't know that was the thing. I just picked out a random one. And then it happened to be a compliment. Thank you. All right. PM Chan says, victimize a second time when you are not believed. Yes, that's what I mean about as far as like victims don't want to speak out because when you're not believed, or if you're told to just keep, we believe you, but we're not going to do anything about it. Like we're not going to confront or make the perpetrator pay. Again, you are absolutely right. Victimize a second time. Because now you're just totally crushed. I mean, that's just it's messed up. Messed up. Thank you. That's a great comment there. PM Channel says, were you able to utilize therapy for your trauma? Yes. So when I was 17, by this time I had spoke out about it, I believe, when I was like 15, and nothing happened. So, or, it was more emotional baggage that was added to me for me to feel bad and not want to expose, the family secrets and stuff. So the burden was put back on me to, just tough up and take it. Unfortunately, it happens to us. It happened to me. Happened to all these other people, all these other victims. So you're not the only one. So just kind of stiff upper lip and and so I didn't say anything. So for these years, especially at this age, is when if something mental breakdown, something's going to happen. These are the times that it does. So at 17, I had my type of breakdown moment where I did spend some time in a facility getting some treatment and all that good stuff, because this was way too much for me to handle, trying to support the abuser or keep support the family and hold the secret in there as not to expose the family. So yeah, but it's still never enough, so I did get some. Thank you, Balance. Yes, speaking up. Yes, that's what we're doing up in here. JP6 says this is sad that this is going on. Yeah, what's sad about is that this is going on and it's been going on and nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. Y'all saw that little list of other preachers, pastors, deacons, and people that have been charged with this kind of stuff, and nothing happens, right? Nothing happens. There's video of the members and stuff still supporting these pastors who have been accused and stuff, so it's just real sick and sad. Just like you said, the victim is victimized a second time. LaDan Dallas said, it's so sad that you can't even throw a stick without hitting someone that has not been SA. Yes. I hope 50 Cent keeps his promise and donate the proceeds of his documentary to support SA. What? Okay. I didn't know that. Yeah, I hope he keeps the promise too. And that's why I'm saying that we need to talk about it and share it. And that way we can eliminate the shame. Like you said, a lot of times some victims, we don't want to say anything because it's just like, well, I guess I'm not the only one. So I can't be feeling bad or sorry for myself because who ain't been SA'd, you know what I mean? So we have to change that thought, because by having that thought, it's really just giving the abuser an advantage, because victims are going around saying, oh, well, I guess it was my fault, or, maybe my diaper was too tight or something like that. I don't know. I shouldn't have had them bow legs, or I don't know what the thing is, what would cause somebody to be interested in a baby. But yeah, it is sad. So those are other reasons and issues why a lot of, at least why I know I chose to just shoulder the burden of it and say they're there to the people and stuff, and just kind of keep it moving and just not say much about it, because who ain't had it. So yeah. So the same way with this little P Diddy stuff that's happening and stuff, like people like feeling outraged that he's out there being abusive and all that stuff. This is a lot of the energy of the people that's in the power and in charge like that. We saw the little documentary on Dre. What a lot of these men do. So it's what they do. It's what they do. Is what they do. So let me see here. I'm going to just probably do a few more things. I'll drop the link if anybody wants to share their testimony about lifting their voices and stuff like that on this whole thing. We'll just do that. Like I said, the channel is dedicated for victims of all ages and all genders overcome the fear of facing the abuse, And like I said, first step in facing the abuse is admitting that there was abuse. So there it is there. And my plan is to come back here on Sunday when these people, this church, Rice Temple is the church that this here Bishop Cannon is over. And like I said, the Sunday before the Monday that he was arrested, he was at church. He was still dictating stuff. He was still in charge. And y'all, so I want to read that all the stuff too, about what he was actually in charge of and all that stuff. Like, he was in high position, and the people in the AOH church have been covering for him for a few years now. And it's just sick. It's sick and sad, sad and sad and sick, right? To that these people are able to do this, and these are other reasons too why a victim is not going to say anything. You know what I mean? Let's see here. What's up, Alicia? Alicia Renee says the cop cam page has the full video. What full video? Let me see. Let me see what y'all talking about. Cop cam page. What full video? What y'all talking about? Alicia, what full video? Cop cam. Let me see here. Cop cam. From what we talking about here? Cop cam. That the site? I guess that's on this here. All right, I'm just going to probably play one or two more things. And then, like I said, my plan is to come back on Sunday and see if they're going to acknowledge anything. If they're going to pray for the victims, which I have yet to hear any of these churches pray for the victims. You know, like I said, they mostly condemn the victims, call them the derogatory names like sissies and gays and all kind of awful things that I don't believe if these kids, these boys hadn't been touched. And if you're calling the victim gay and sissy and all that stuff, what does that make the perpetrator, the pastor, the bishop who performed the gay acts on the kid? Balance says, I appreciate your research on human behavior. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And that's kind of really where I want to go with this stuff too, because like I said, these aren't isolated incidents. These kind of things are happening all over the world, right? In Rome, we got these priests that's been molested in the altar boys since forever. You know, all these things now are coming to the light. You know, what's done in the dark is going to come to light. So like I said, my plan is to come back on Sunday. Thank you, Balance, and see, we can go through there and see what they're going to do. If they're going to give an apology, if they're going to pray for the community, if they're going to, because if you really think about it, this is where all the wickedness is happening. These are clues to let you know that God is not in buildings made with hands. He's not in the midst. God is not in the midst of any of this stuff. And shame on you for putting your life in the hands of a man. Shame, 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 shame. What's up, Darren? Danielle said, just sad, such a broken world. Yes. And the reparation, the repair of this whole broken world is gonna start with us. Like I said, over here, we don't do the moments of silence, we do moments of speaking. And the more victims unite, the more victims speak out, the more we're going to get closer to becoming survivors, and we're going to increase good to defeat evil. Because that's all this is about. The sad thing is that most of the good or the victims are isolated and, in their own little space. Like, we don't come together, unite. Everybody keeping their own little victim secret and stuff. The burden is placed, after the victim is victimized in the worst way possible. The victim is then left to hold and shoulder the responsibility of this awful secret. Everybody else is free to go on with their lives, but you, the victim, you have to keep it a secret that you was tampered with as a child by an adult. You got to keep that. So here's the other price that you win for being the victim. Now you have to show to that, because, we don't want people to know that, the family is doing this, right? And then just like Ladam said earlier, that, you can't even throw a stick without finding somebody that says, me too, or me too. It happened to me too, So, yeah, super sad. Darren Danielle said, these children didn't have a choice in the matter. Exactly. But if you're made to feel ashamed of it, and then you got the whole church praying over you and putting hands on you, and the person who's sitting up there trying to exorcise this evil gay spirit out of you is the same person that was just behind the curtain doing nasty things to you. But yet you're the one in front of the whole congregation. Everybody's, I rebuke the spirit of Satan in you, and all. What? Every elder, every mother, every person in that church, these churches that sat there and supported these demon, devil preachers, pastors, popes, bishops, all of them. My prayer, God, please hear the cries of the victims. Shine the light on these wicked imposter pastors that is using your name to hurt the people. We speaking up. We speaking out. It's not your fault that you was a victim. But if you're still here, that means that you have the potential to be a survivor. And that's where the victory comes in, because these abusers, these perpetrators are banking on you being quiet, being too wounded, too hurt, too confused, and too ashamed of the abuse that you received to speak out. They want you to feel shame on that. That's not your shame, that's theirs. Give it back. Give it back. Thank you, Nerda. Nerda says, thank you for having the courage to share. I appreciate that. Like I said, it did take courage, y'all. I'm still taking this last little bit here. I'm 53, you know what I mean? And this happened in my childhood, on and off up until the age of 9. Up to the age of 10, I'm sorry. Up until the age of 10. And like I said, had the 3 trips back to Alabama, and that was it. After my 10th birthday, we came back here to California. I never had to go back. And like I said, it took me years to build up the courage to speak out and say something, because like I said, it was a family member, and not just a family member, but my mother's brother. My mother's brother. And it really confused me and hurt me. It crushed me. It hurt me to know that it was more important to keep the family secret as opposed to speak out and condemn your brother for freaking touching a baby, for touching a child. So it took me years to get over that. To be okay and feel like I could show some love and compassion for you when, that was so painful, and you chose to support the abuser over me. So I know what it's like to be a victim and to speak out, and everybody's more concerned about protecting the abuser. It's not a good feeling. It's not encouraging. It doesn't make you feel good as a person. Now you're carrying this shame. It's hard for you to manage in your life and to have relationships with people, and especially people of the opposite sex. Because once you've been tampered with, you can't take that back. Your innocence is forever lost. Thank you, Nair. I appreciate that. JP6 says, I think that you are brave to share something so personal. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Like, I've always kind of danced around it, but I was like, I don't want to say that what happened to me, I'm over it. You start thinking, oh, I'm healed, I'm good, I'm going through this. But deep down inside, it's not going to be there until you could open up your mouth and say it. Open up your mouth and say it. And then to have to still be connected with the family, So it's a really fine line to balance on how to still be considered a loving daughter and accept people for who they are and where they're at. Like, this is what, to expect. This is what they're going to do. You can't change somebody. Like, the people that are like that are the people that are like that. Some people are just not going to have compassion for victims. That's just how it is. Like I said, this is good versus evil. Good versus evil. Thank you, JP. Appreciate that. Balance says, YouTube, I paid for premium, but I got kicked out of the live. Yeah, YouTube has really been trying to put the shadow on this channel since I started talking about Shanquilla Robinson back in November of 22. Like I said, this society is set up to silence victims, and they don't want the truth to come out. And for those of you who know me, I've always been on the side of truth. I've always been on the side of truth. And when they were trying to feed me stories to say, to go along to try to, change people to believe something that didn't happen, when there was a video that we saw her getting the life knocked out of her. And then all of a sudden now they play with the people that try to come in here and stuff, kick you out, don't give you notification, try to, put the ban on here and stuff. So the wicked don't like the truth. The wicked don't like the truth. So that's why, I'm doing this because it's for victims. I'm doing this for victims to become survivors. Because, like I've said before in prior videos, it's not your fault if you were a victim. You couldn't help that. If somebody's going to victimize you, that's what they're going to do. But if you are still here, that means that you were meant to give a testimony to help somebody. To help somebody. That's why it's important to share your testimony. Share your testimony and get past the shame, and the guilt, right, of that. Because that was super difficult for me. And I'm thinking, like, why should I be ashamed to say that, I was molested in a house full of people? We were never alone. I was molested, and that nobody thought it was improper for a grown man to have an 8-year-old in the room with the door closed for, extended periods of time. Nobody thought that was, and this was a grandma, there, a mother's mother, her brother. And we even didn't know these people because, we, like I said, we were from California, and, on the summers we'd go out there to visit. Like I said, it was 3 visits. The one I remember when I wasn't talking, but I was one. I remember that because I had sat in that ant bed, and I wanted to tell everybody that he was messing with my neck. It's a little name that we used to call our private area when we were little kids. He was messing with my neck. But, like I said, I didn't have that vocabulary because I was, barely 2. But I remember. Hey, doing the thing, So, but anyway, like I said, so I know that I'm just grateful that I'm a survivor, and it could have been worse. Like, you know, it could have been every day, not just those 3 incidents where we came out there for, you know, a summer, or this one time we was out. The last time it was for a school semester, and that was the worst, the worst. And like I said, a house full of people, never alone, and nobody did anything. Like, I didn't know who I could even say anything to, especially, you know, grandma was kind of a mean person, and you know, if I thought I got whoopings, imagine what she, you know, the type of stuff that she did to my mom, you know. And also, you know, overcoming this whole victim thing is to see and have compassion for the people that are trying to support the abusers and stuff, you know. And a lot of times that burden is placed on the victim's shoulder, you know, you got to forgive and all that stuff. Well, you know, why? Why? But most victims are forced to feel guilty about it, or feel like, you know, it's something that they need to do. And it's really not. Yeah. And so that's why YouTube, you know, played with me. That's why another reason why I was just like, whatever, I ain't going to even try to do all this stuff. When I feel the need, I want to say something, I'm going to go for it. And then, you know, the real people that's trying to do the right thing and that actually want to build a platform, a safe place for victims to come and discuss and talk and to come up with plans and stuff. So like I said, I've always said this before, there's strength in numbers, strength in numbers, strength in numbers. But most victims continue to keep themselves isolated and feel like it's just you. And then by not sharing, you are just weak links all over. So these perpetrators, these abusers are just getting off scot-free. And that's how they're able to abuse people for years at a time. Like this Bishop Cannon been the pastor of this church, Rice Temple, since 2003. Imagine how many victims in the last 20 years this guy has injured. And when it was brought to the church, they did nothing. Nothing. These the saints. These supposed to be saints. Praise him, saints. Yeah. Danielle says, wow, a blood relative is very rare. And it's sad that they were more concerned about protecting your uncle than honoring and avenging the harm done to you. Exactly. And that was difficult too, because that's how I felt. Like, you know, I was like, dang, you know, maybe I shouldn't have said nothing, because I didn't say anything right away. And it took some years and stuff, and me going through all kind of little emotional fears and stuff like that, you know, and then for me to let it out, and then nothing happened. Except for, you know, it happened to me too. And then I'm so sorry about you. But what about me? What about me? And there's never to this day have been an acknowledgement about me. It's always about something else. But no more. Like I said, we don't do moments of silence over here. We do moments of speaking. Yes. Yes. And that's what made it even more, you know, taboo, was because it was a family member. Because now you have to own the fact that, you know, it's difficult. We've seen that before. Like I was talking about that Darrell Brooks, and then we saw how his mama and grandma was like just praising him when he's been a whole sack of crap for years, right? Of being abusive and all these different things, but they still supported them. So these abusers still have the support of their families, and oftentimes be the mothers. Mothers knowing full well that their sons are a whole big sack of poop, and they have been molesting family members, community kids for years, and nobody does anything. The same way R. Kelly was doing all this stuff for years, and people knew about it. So this ain't nothing different. That's why I'm saying that we need to give a voice to victims, excuse me, and stick together. Really do. Danielle says, your innocence is forever lost. Yes. Can innocence be restored? I don't think your innocence can be restored, but they can be strengthened or reinforced. Sometimes, like I said before, so for those who don't know me, I have over 30 years of nursing. And at one point I was doing like wounds and stuff like that. So anyway, once you've had a wound, your skin is broken, you got a scab, right? Your skin, your body will make a scab, right? Scab will fall off, but you'll forever have that scar. You know, it may get a little bit smaller, but you can still look at the skin and see where the initial injury took place, right? And that's the scar is the memory of that. So it can't be restored. Well, I guess it could be restored, you know, like it's reinforced, but it's forever lost. It's forever lost. Like even my so-called first time is really not a first time because I've already been introduced to this kind of stuff, you know? So, yes. And that's the part why I really feel that these predators need to pay, because once that's taken, it's already taken. And now this person is all messed up. Like a lot of the people that are promiscuous and do all kind of things have been touched or tampered with when they were children. And then people around them call them fast, especially for girls. Oh, she's so fast. How you 12 and fast? How you 8 and fast? You know? And heaven help if you know, had some features that was, you know, I don't even see how anybody could look at a 8-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old and feel aroused. These are kids. We're children. Just sick. You know, and try to figure out a way to blame the victim. You know what I mean? Stop blaming the victim. Yes, narrative says justice for Shanquilla Robinson. Yeah. And so when we started getting, you know, standing on the truth with this, Shanquilla Robinson, they started trying to shut that down too. Because evil doesn't want justice. They don't want the justice. Yeah. And a lot of these monsters that's out that was probably responsible for Shanquilla stuff probably were victims of these same pastors and stuff that did this kind of stuff, that turned these people into these, you know, demons and stuff. So, yeah. Let's see here. Read a few more down. We call it in. And then, like I said, my goal is to come back on Sunday and see if when they do service on Sunday, if they're going to acknowledge what happened, if they're going to condemn that pastor and ask for forgiveness for the community, for the church, for the victims, you know, first the victims, of course. If they can do that, then, you know, we got something here. But if they try to do the whole silent treatment, I'm going to keep sharing this here. I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm going to keep bringing it up. And we're going to tear these churches down. We're going to tear them down because it's time. It don't make no sense that people are giving money and these people are sitting up here collecting money on abusing people and then ruining people's lives. Darren Danielle said, usually the people who say the victim needs to forgive tells them to forgive so that they can feel better. Exactly. This is true. This is true. This is true. Yep. And then the poor victim is all, you know, now you done let this whole big thing out and people looking at me like I gotta be the big person. What? Okay, well, I guess I won't say nothing. I don't want the family to look bad. Yeah. Nope. Yeah. Some victims don't even realize they have been victimized because they are so severely brainwashed. Yes. And that too, the church is very powerful in brainwashing these people. I know that was part of the reason why I didn't say anything in the beginning, because when I got back from Alabama after when I was 10, after things went way X-rated type of behavior, that was our longest time we had to stay there, and we got back. We were into the Church of God in Christ, right? Holy rollers and all this stuff, and people jumping and shouting, and spirit and all this stuff. And I remember always feeling stressed out that somebody was going to see through me and prophesize that I was out there doing all this sinful behavior, doing the thing here and stuff. And the stress of all that stuff, and I'm brainwashed, feeling like, God's going to strike me down because I'm doing this and all these things and stuff. Yeah. So you're absolutely right on this. Narrative says, here's a hug for your inner child. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm about to cry on this, but and then yeah, and sometimes it's good to cry, let stuff out and stuff like that too. So we're we always try to be strong and do all these things, but what's wrong with crying? Yeah. Thank you. My inner child needs that. And I need to hug also my inner child by speaking the truth and by letting these things out and stuff, and not feeling like angry about holding this stuff in. You know what I mean? I feel more free and better each time I say it. Yes. My mother's brother molested me for years. And when I talked about it, nobody said anything. But on my grandma's dying bed, she called me and apologized for that. And that was the, like I said, she died shortly after that. She already knew she was dying. She was sick. But I felt at least vindicated that she apologized for letting that happen, because, like I said, it was a house full of people the whole time, and it was her son who did this stuff. And that just today makes me know that I wasn't the only child that he'd been doing this to. And she had to have known that her son has been fondling and messing with and fooling around and having sex with children for years. For years. And when I did finally, like I said, who asked me about, I think it was PM Channel, about the treatment. I was in therapy, and I remember telling my therapist about it. But I was, like I said, 17. So I think the statute of limitation had, this was like in the mid to late 80s, had already expired. And so, but still, just talking about that, was helpful and stuff too. But yeah, this here, like I said, we supporting victims. We supporting victims, and we hearing victims, and we are supporting, and we're standing by their truth. You know what I mean? Because the worst thing, and that's always usually happens, is that the victim is now ridiculed and pointed, and these so-called church people have these holier than thou type of energy and sit there and condemn the victims, when the so-called people that's supposed to be in charge are the perpetrators. Like, this is sick, super sick. JP6 said, do you think Puff Diddy will go to jail? I do now, because it's too many people that are going to jail. When they put the Harvey Weinstein in there, so yeah. And then notice how this the video that recently surfaced with him, kicking and body slamming the one Cassidy lady from 2016. That means that somebody that was on a videotape, that was on the hotel surveillance security system. Like they saw that someone saw someone being victimized, and it also makes the victim more scared when, excuse me, these perpetrators, these abusers flex their power, and then people support them, and you're just sit there left to look like a a crazy person or something. Yeah, I think it's time. Like I said, the time's up. No more secrets, and it's time for people to start paying, right? Hey, Regiment 65, what's going on? Said the music encourage the kids to be fast. Yeah, I think that's part of the conditioning. It's part of the conditioning. She said the music encourages the kids to be fast. Yeah. Narrative says innocence can never be restored. Yes, it's forever lost. I agree with you. That makes what these predators do even more wicked. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Narrative said, at the very least, sit him down publicly and wait for the trial. I agree with you. Yeah. All right. And Darren Daniel says, wow, you think your grandmother knew? Yeah, she knew. Like I said, on her deathbed, she apologized to me for what Perry did. And that helped out a lot because I was like, at least I know that, not that I ever thought that I was making it up, but at least I know that somebody else saw it. Like, I never told her, but she apologized to me because when, this thing came out, they had protected, Perry. He was protected by the family. Her and my mother protected him or took his side, didn't do anything about it. So before she died, I guess she wanted to make peace with her. And at that time, I was 27 years old. I was pregnant with my first and only daughter. Yep. So, and then I want to say a couple weeks later, she passed away. But I'll never forget. I was in my kitchen, and because I never called her. I didn't keep up with her. She never kept up with us either. And I want to say I don't even know how we got on the phone. I think maybe I don't even know how we got on the phone, but we were talking, and she, apologized. She apologized for what Perry did to me. So, yeah, she knew. She had to know. My thing is this: there's no way that I'm going to be okay with a young girl in the room with the door closed with an adult male. Period. I don't care who it is. That's inappropriate. Like, why are you in the room with the door closed with a child, with a girl child? And now we still have to feel that way about boy childs too, because the boys are being molested at alarming rates like these girls are too. And probably even more because most boys will not say anything about it. Like these men aren't just born gay. They have been fondled, tampered with, made to do wicked things to these other men. They have been molded into this lifestyle. And then the church be the first ones to be preaching at them and talking bad about them. It's the reason why they're in the churches, in the choir. Because they still be having relationships with their abusers and stuff. This isn't uncommon, what they do. Yeah, she knew. Then Danielle says, right, she validated your experience. Yeah, and that's what I felt grateful for, grateful for. Yep. Did your uncle deny molesting you? Yes, he did. He denied it. Yep, he denied it. Yep. Young child, period. Yeah. Yep. Danielle says, especially when there are girl children without a father in their lives. Yes. And I know that I'm not going to say that it's not all men, because my dad never was ever inappropriate with me. I never felt like he touched me inappropriately, looked at me wrong. Like he, matter of fact, would, you know, when I was acting out, crying out, I remember my dad pushing me away. Hey, get off me. Hey, don't do, you know what I mean? So all men aren't like that. There it says, turned on before their tune. Turned on before their tune. Maybe time. All right, y'all got me. Ladam Darling said, do anyone know why the U.S. government didn't send the Cabo Six back to Mexico like the Mexican government wanted them to? The Mexican government never wanted them to send that. They was just giving us that to kind of keep us in a circle, because Mexico wasn't going to say anything until the video came out. Mexico was mom's the word. They let them go. So when the mask come off, or when the wool was pulled down, the veil was pulled down, Mexico go, oh, tell them to come back here. If Mexico thought that they were guilty, why did they let them go? Why did they let them go? And if the U.S. really wanted to do something about it, they would have done something. They would have done something right here. But as soon as the gender thing came out, that's when it was like, oh, hush, hush, hush. It's because the people that have been molesting these children all this time, that's turning these people into these, gay people that's acting out, doing all kind of deviant type of behavior, they don't want their secrets coming out. So that's why they let this kind of stuff just skate on by. Because before then, it was on the news, everybody was talking about it, but as soon as that whole gender thing came up, all of a sudden, oh, there's not enough evidence. So this here, like I said, we just keep praying on this here. Danielle says, your uncle told your family that you made it up. No, he didn't say he made it up. He just said, I didn't. I did not. That was it. And then never brought up again. And I remember, yes, you did. And I was giving details and all that stuff. And I'm all emotional and stuff now. I think I was probably about like maybe 13 or so when I spoke about it. 13 or so. And I was adamant. Like I didn't just, I was, yes, you, because of course we were in different states. It was all over the phone. Because I hadn't seen him again. But yeah, we had the phone and I was, yes, you did. And I didn't, and I told the different things you did. You did this when I tried to say no, you pulled on my ear. You was, kind of pinch me and hurt me to, when I didn't cooperate. I gave the details and I stood my ground. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. You did this, you did that, you did this. So, yeah. Ladam says at JP6, I am very frustrated about Shanquilla's case too. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of stuff up in there on that. Super frustrating. Danielle says it's typical the father of the child that detours predators. Predators tend to look for children who are neglected, unlikely to speak, and unlikely to be the lead if they do not speak up. Yeah, and sometimes these predators are, cozy with the mother, and the mother is willingly sacrificing these kids to these predators because of something that they're getting out of it, like the praise and approval of the predator. She always talked about that was her favorite brother, her baby brother and all this stuff. So, yeah. JP6 says, Ladam, if it was my daughter this time, I would do what I have to do. Yeah, that's what we say. That's what people say. Yeah, super sad. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much. I'm excited to be happy again about talking about stuff. Like I said, I've been wanting to talk, but a lot of times I'd be like, I need to. I knew I needed to cross this here bridge too to be able to get to the next side on these things here. Danielle says they accused her uncle of molesting you in front of you. That's crazy. Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure they just called and asked, or it was told, you did this, and he said no. So, yeah, grandma, mama, yeah, he told him no. And that was the end of that. Yeah, that is crazy. And again, the same thing happened with these kids in church and stuff, and they say, hey, the pastor did this. All of a sudden, they start accusing the kids of, having a gay spirit. I'm like, well, wait a minute. I thought, God didn't make nobody gay. So who is responsible for this? Can't be the child. Let's see here. JP6 says, have you seen the corruption in Dothan, Illinois? Yes. And that's what I'm saying. This here is a war against good and evil. See there? These are evil people that are making people victims. Like you're either a victim or a predator, right? You're either a victim or a predator. And the thing is that if you have been victimized, that you overcome it to become a survivor. And that's where the healing and all that stuff takes place, right? Yes, I've been in tune with it. Danielle says, oh, yes, I once read children of single mothers are 6 to 7 times more likely to be victims of sexual abuse. The predators groom the family and pretend to be there to help the family with watching the child. Yes. And that's the other thing, too. Like, we have to be aware when kids are doing things. I remember, I want to say the year was like 1985. I was working, I was doing home health. I was sitting with kids on ventilators that was at home. And the one kid that I was sitting with, you're at the people's house, so they're siblings. And there was a little girl, I want to say she was 8. And the patient that I was taking care of, I want to say he was a baby. And the little girl was used to walk around, in a bathing suit where they didn't have a pool in the house, and we weren't close to the beach or anything. We was in Simi Valley in California, but no beach close. So I was like, why is she walking around in this bathing suit, often? And then one night, the parents, they used to, try to use me to babysit when I'm the nurse there to take care of the sick child. They would say, since this kid really is not that sick, if they could, leave me here with the 8-year-old. So this one particular evening, the little girl comes downstairs and she is naked. And then she starts, she sits down in front of me and she's masturbating. And I'm like, hey, this is, you don't do, this is a private thing. You do this alone. And so, I was like, I had to stop her and told her, this is something you do in private. So, after I sent her off to her room to go do your thing in private, when her parents got home, I told them what was, what happened. I was concerned about the behavior. I also reported it because as a nurse, it's my job to report, abuse suspicions and stuff. So, because to me, that's a cry for help. This little girl is doing these inappropriate acts. Like, who's been showing you how to do this stuff? You at that age, your mind shouldn't be exposed to doing all this kind of stuff, and especially in front of people. So when kids are acting out sexually, these are cries for help. So when people ignore it or say they're acting gay or say they're trying to do, you have ignored the cry from the child who's crying out for help. Because this is inappropriate. Like something happened to get you to do this kind of stuff. Like this is not normal behavior. You don't walk around naked in front of strangers and start masturbating yourself. You don't do that. Something's wrong here. Anyway, so that was these are signs and stuff. So a lot of times these kids are telling people and then people don't do anything. JP6 says, I feel bad about children being victimized. Yeah, we should feel bad about that because guess what? Sometimes these children grow up to victimize other people, right? And that's how I know that it is a fight between good and evil, because every child that's been victimized don't grow up to victimize. Some do. Like a lot of those perpetrators were abused when they were kids too. But they just had a weak spirit and they were going to be abusers, right? As opposed to making sure that that doesn't happen to anybody else. Danielle says, let's talk about what's happening in Gaza. Let's talk about what's happening here in America. A lot of times we get distracted by worrying about what's going on in somebody else's yard, and look at how messed up everything is over here. How little we're doing for our own people and stuff. Yes. Narrative says we better figure out soon because hurt people. Yeah, that's what I was just saying. The child we don't protect today will be the predator tomorrow. Yes, this is facts. Facts. Because if we look back on a lot of these little case studies and stuff, they always say, oh, the person was abused, was poverty, all kind of little stuff like that, right? Which are reasons why people do things, but it's no excuse. Yes. All right. So again, thank y'all so much. And I plan to see y'all on Sunday. And like I said, I hope these people do the right thing and speak out. And I would like to hear them ask for forgiveness and apologize to those victims who cried out to them that they continue to allow the abuser to stand in above them in a power position and to condemn them and to get everybody else to talk bad about them or feel high and mighty that they could, pray over them and rebuke this evil spirit that's in the victim. So, yeah. Daniel says, right, unprocessed trauma, hurt people. Yeah, for narrative's comment. All right, so again, last comment here. Danielle says, no evil takes place in a vacuum. We can discuss acts of molestation in a small town, but there is also Epstein, and large-scale abusers. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's all around. We got to protect our children. And that's why a lot of these agendas that they have out now where they're bringing all this hypersexual stuff into classrooms, into elementary schools and stuff like that, where they're having transgenders in there twerking and stuff like that. Just craziness. And these are all set up to where they could make it legal to continue to do these things with children, right? Children who don't have the mentality to be able to say yes or no, to understand what is being presented to them, So, all right. Thank y'all so much. And again, pray for our children, pray for our country. I pray for the USA. Gotta pray for the USA. Yeah. And so I'm sure there's some awful things happening over there in Gaza, but there's some awful things that's happening right here. And while we get distracted on pointing over there, or just like in the Bible, Christ said, check the beam in your eye before you start trying to get the mote out of your neighbor's eye, right? So we gotta get your own crust, or keep up your yard before you start trying to take the people over. All right, I love y'all, and I'll talk to y'all soon again. All right, so This is all about protecting and showing consideration for victims. Love y'all. See you in another video soon. Peace.